A dark, jagged crack suddenly tears through the cold limestone mountainside, sending clouds of rock dust flying. The massive rock formation detaches from the cliff face and starts falling freely into the deep blue water below. The water surface explodes violently as a white column shoots skyward, looking exactly like a nuclear bomb detonation. Red sirens spin frantically on the town hall roof, emitting a deadly warning sound across the entire valley. From the impact point, a giant wall of water forms, rising up to swallow the faint sunlight of afternoon. On the luxury cruise deck, Caucasian passengers scream and point in desperation at the approaching water monster ahead. The giant ship tips 90 degrees as furniture, and people slide helplessly down into the deep, cold ocean. The camera skims the water surface, showing the rolling wave rushing through the narrow fjord with race car speed. The embankment of Hellesylt town crumbles instantly when millions of tons of water smash into the foundations of houses. A blue tourist bus is swept away by the flood current and smashed around just like a plastic toy. Beneath, the murky water, fragments of houses and trees spin violently within the chaotic, turbulent flow currents below. Aerial drone view shows the wave advancing deep into the valley, submerging the large hotel on the hill slope. A blond man runs desperately up the mountain slope, looking back at the water chasing him closely at his heels. The solid concrete bridge snaps in half and falls into the roaring, angry water raging below it instantly. High-voltage pylons collapse, sparking electrical flashes that die out quickly in the dark wall of rising water. Close-up of a soaked woman with wide blue eyes staring in absolute horror at the disaster ahead of her. The beautiful town landscape is now just a pile of rubble submerged in mud and salty seawater. A broken phone lies in a mud puddle, with the emergency warning message still lighting up the screen, flashing. The screen fades to black as the sound of trickling water replaces the roar of the violent, destructive waves. This is not science fiction. This is a geological scenario that will definitely happen in the country of Norway. The towering Åkerneset mountain stands majestic, hiding a sleeping monster deep inside its beautiful yet dangerous rocky structure. A deep crack runs along the mountainside, separating the massive rock block from the rest of the continent. Modern geological sensors are embedded deep into the cliff, measuring every single millimeter of the slightest rock movement. In the monitoring center, scientists stare tensely at graphs that are oscillating more violently with every passing second. The computer screen turns bright red as the numbers displaying the expansion rate spike abnormally high right now. Flocks of seagulls suddenly fly chaotically, screaming desperately and abandoning their cliffside nests in a total panic state. Deep at the fjord bottom, methane gas bubbles start rising, signaling tremors from the very crust of the earth. A sudden mild tremor occurs, causing the coffee cups on the office desk to shake and spill liquid. The mountain crack expands to maximum width as debris falls like rain, signaling the imminent collapse of rock. The National Disaster Warning System activates, sending emergency evacuation messages to every single mobile device in the area. The entire western mountainside detaches completely, sending 100 million cubic meters of rock plunging towards the fjord. Gravity pulls the colossal mass down, accelerating it to terminal velocity before it smashes into the calm water surface. The impact creates a supersonic boom as water is compressed and blasted high up into the clouds instantly. The compressed air creates an extremely powerful tornado-like wind gust, sweeping away trees on the opposite shore. A white column of water hundreds of meters high rises vertically, completely blocking out the bright sunlight immediately. Because the narrow fjord space is tight, water cannot disperse but compresses into a vertical wall of destruction. The 85-meter-high water monster begins to form, heading straight towards the tourist town of Geiranger. A portion of the wave energy reflects back against the cliffs, creating a chaos of turbulent flow currents. The wave travel speed reaches 300 kilometers per hour, which is faster than a flying rescue helicopter. Flocks of seabirds unable to fly high enough are sucked into the vortex and drowned in the white foam. The giant anchored cruise ship tries to start its engines as propellers churn the water in pure desperation. The Caucasian captain stares blankly at the approaching wall of water through the glass window of the bridge. Passengers on the deck run chaotically as their screams are drowned out by the deafening roar of the ocean. The massive wave arrives and its height far exceeds even the highest chimney stack of the large ship. thousands of tons of water crash down, crushing the glass and steel superstructure of the ship instantly. The ship is capsized to one side as the lifeboats fall off like autumn leaves in the wind. In the luxury dining room, tables and diners slide uncontrollably as the floor tilts vertically to 90 degrees. A torrent of salt water bursts through the glass doors, flooding the corridor and sweeping away everything inside. The ship sinks slowly in white foam, leaving only the red bottom hull sticking up above the water. Debris from the ship floats aimlessly, colliding with each other in the violent, swirling water currents below. The tsunami continues its destructive journey, heading straight for Hellesylt town, located right at the Fjord entrance gateway. The solid concrete ferry terminal is lifted up and thrown inland like a light piece of styrofoam. Black water floods the streets, turning parked cars into reluctant submarines, instantly submerging them under the dark liquid. A small coastal supermarket has its glass windows blown out by water pressure, sending goods floating everywhere. The famous waterfall of the town is swallowed by the reverse water flow, creating a paradoxical visual scene. The wave does not stop as it continues to wind along the S shape of the fjord deeper. At the narrowest bend, the wave height rises another 10 meters due to the dangerous bottleneck effect. A caged salmon farm is crushed as torn nets release millions of fish into the open sea instantly. Campers on the shore flee in panic, leaving tents and belongings to be swept away by water. The roar of the wave echoes against the cliffs, creating a resonant sound like continuous rolling thunderclaps. Geiranger town appears at the end of the fjord, beautiful and fragile, facing the barrel of nature's gun. The camping ground, located right at the water edge, is the first to suffer the ocean's wrath. Dozens of RV tourist vehicles are lifted by waves and smash into each other, crumbling like matchboxes. Water climbs the mountain slope at dizzying speed, swallowing the only road leading up to the center. The Union Hotel on the high hill seems safe, but the wave edge still licks the lobby entrance. An Asian tourist bus is stuck at the bend as rising water floods the wheels completely right now. Inside the bus, passengers bang on windows for help as murky water starts flooding the floor rapidly. The flood current sweeps away the bus, pushing it down the abyss along with desperate screams of people. The Geiranger Visitor Center is torn apart by water pressure as the roof collapses onto souvenir stalls. The famous winding roads of Norway now turn into fast-flowing mud rivers, destroying everything in path. The transformer station explodes, creating bright orange fireballs contrasting sharply with the dark black floodwater below. The entire valley plunges into darkness, leaving only the flashes of lightning and electrical sparks to see. A man clings tightly to a pine tree top, while below him, the deadly water current flows fast. An expensive sports car floats aimlessly, crashing into the rock cliff and crumpling the front hood completely. Looking down from above, Geiranger is no longer a town, but a giant swirling garbage dump of debris. After the first hit, water starts receding, leaving behind thick mud and ruined skeletons of destroyed houses. But that is not the end, as the Seisha phenomenon continues, creating secondary waves of destruction immediately. Foundations of remaining houses are eroded by receding water, causing them to collapse immediately right after that. A rescue helicopter tries to approach, but the wind is too strong, forcing it to turn back. The camera lens is covered in mud, recording the final image of destruction before turning off completely. Underwater shot shows the fjord bottom has been permanently changed with a thick layer of new sediment. A pink child shoe floats lonely in the vast sea of water filled with deadly debris fragments. Weak afternoon sunlight shines on the desolate scene, creating a ghostly orange and red color palette effect. Loud noises cease completely, leaving only the sound of trickling water like the crying of nature itself. Geiranger, the jewel of Norway, has officially been wiped off the world tourism map forever from now. When the roar of the water waves passes, a terrifying silence covers the entire valley immediately right now. Black smoke columns start rising from ruptured gas stations, mixing with the thick, heavy mist in the air. The ground is now covered with a half-meter thick layer of gray-brown mud, burying all life traces. A crushed car lies upside down on the church roof, creating a surreal image of the disaster aftermath. Broken tree branches and trash hang suspended on power lines, marking the terrible height of the floodwater. The Eagle Road, the only exit up the mountain, has been severely eroded, cutting off all communication lines. Survivors try to drive away, but are blocked by thousands of tons of rock blocking the road completely. The mountain tunnel is completely flooded, turning into a deadly trap that cannot be crossed by anyone. The mobile phone network collapses, completely turning expensive smartphones into useless bricks in the hands of desperate people. Geiranger is now a lonely island, separated from the civilized world by a wall of rock and water. From within the rubble, mud-stained figures begin to crawl out, looking bewildered and panicked at the destruction. A woman sits on the mud, hugging a soaked teddy bear tightly with a blank soul-staring eyes. The heartbreaking calls for loved ones ring out, but only the wind whistling through the ravine answers them. A group of Asian tourists help each other limp, along with clothes torn by the pressure of water. Blood mixes with mud as open wounds without first aid start to get infected in the dirty environment. The temperature starts dropping fast as night falls, and the bone-chilling cold of northern Europe rushes in. Soaked survivors start shivering uncontrollably as the risk of hypothermia approaches them closer with every passing minute. They rummage through the supermarket ruins to search for any remaining food and drinking water left behind there. A small fire is lit from wet wood pieces, becoming the only heat source in the pitch-black night. Without electricity and without heaters, tonight will be the longest night in the lives of these poor people. The sewage system is completely destroyed as wastewater spills out, mixing with seawater, causing severe pollution immediately. The beautiful, traditional wooden houses are now just piles of firewood floating aimlessly on the water's surface. The concrete pier is snapped in half, with the remaining part hanging precariously, threatening to collapse anytime soon. The ship diesel tanks rupture, creating a deadly rainbow-colored oil slick on the surface of the fjord. The strong smell of gasoline rises, making the air suffocating and hard to breathe for the victims. The soil on the mountain slopes is saturated with water, starting landslides, creating secondary mud flows immediately. Buildings that seem to stand firm start cracking and collapsing because the foundations have been severely eroded. Aftershocks from the mountain collapse continue as the ground shakes slightly, making everyone even more terrified. The risk of disease outbreak from animal carcasses and polluted water sources threatens the survivors right now. With no doctors or medicine, even the smallest wounds can become a death sentence for these people. A group of men try to dig through the rubble with bare hands to search for buried people. They find an arm sticking out of the mud, but the effort to pull yields only silence. An old generator is found, and its sputtering noise lights up a small, fragile hope for everyone. People gather around the single light bulb, sharing some warmth and comfort in the middle of hell. A person tries to write a giant SOS sign on the mud using bright white cloth pieces. Darkness swallows the valley, turning Geiranger into a dead land with absolutely no artificial light sources. The sound of dogs barking echoes from afar, sounding like wild wolves stalking their wounded prey tonight. Flashlight beams sweep across the house ruins, searching for what remains of a once glorious time. Survivors lie curled up on tarps with eyes wide open, staring at the cold, starry sky above. They know that tomorrow, when the sun rises, the brutal reality will be even more clear to see. The drone flies higher, capturing the panoramic disaster scene under the ghostly dim moonlight of the night. No longer a paradise tourist destination, this place is now a common grave for nature and humans. A broken wall clock stops exactly at the moment the wave hit at 2 in the afternoon. The Åkerneset event proved that, against the power of Mother Nature, humans are completely helpless and weak. But in the rubble, a small purple flower still rises, signaling that life will be reborn again. The first sunrise shines on the valley, exposing the naked giant scar of nature to the world. Rescue helicopters hover in the sky, searching for life amidst the silent, dead land below them. Now, humans will rebuild Geiranger, but the ghost of the disaster will haunt this place forever and ever. A mud-stained family photo lies on a rock, proving exactly what has been lost here today. Geologists return to the scene, recording painful data to warn the future generations about this terrible event. This event is not just a Norwegian tragedy, but a wake-up call for all of humanity. We build civilization on fragile eggshells, complacently believing that we have conquered nature completely and permanently forever. Mountain Åkerneset still stands there, cold and cruel like an old king who just punished his subjects. The deep blue waters of Geiranger Fjord return to peace, hiding terrible secrets in the deep bottom. When nature gets angry, humans are just tiny dust particles drifting in the endless stream of life.